this is our first step here in making sure that we get this, and that is the back. We got to caulk the joint between the flange and the door. This is what's called a non-integral flange. I always have a hard time saying that, non-integral. It means it's mechanically attached. It wasn't manufactured as part of the window. You look at their 400 series windows, and that's an integral flange. That was molded at the factory, one piece, can't leak.
Casement window.
Casement window.
Yep.
That would be a typical integral, but most of the windows we get are not. And so we have to make sure that we get this sealed. Okay. Right into the corner there. I am getting old. I went to an electric caulk gun. Also, one thing you may notice too, these applied corners. This is a foam corner that's been provided with the window. We put it on the door. We put it on ahead of time. We're going to come across. Believe me, when I picked this up, I said, this thing is so heavy. I can't use this. After about 5 lines of sealant, I was like, yeah, I can use this. So we're getting that seal. Come on, baby, let's go. And we're going to come right across the top and do the same thing. And the nice thing about the gun is your guys won't be that cheap with the material. They're going to put the right amount on. So now you're going to tool that in. You're going to tool that into the corner so that we get a complete weatherproof seal behind the flange. So the next step, before we set the door in, we've got to hit those sealant points. So there's 3 lines of sealant. And this is kind of critical because we're depending on this sealant to be able to accomplish this airtight seal. I'm going to speed you up a little bit. Be here all night caulking. All right, going to come straight across the corner. And we'll follow our next line through. About a 3/8 inch bead of sealant, and now this 1/4 inch one on the front. The reason that I dry fit the door first is because if I did this first and then fit the door and found out that something was out of whack, I would have a mess on my hands and nowhere to put it. And we want to come up the side and right across the front. And this is what we call a barrier method. We're not looking to drain water out of there. We're looking to prevent the water from getting in. You guys ready to set that door? Okay, we got to do, before we do that, again, the perimeter. We're going to go around this entire perimeter. You got another tube ready for me? So I want to get to the inside where those nails or the fasteners might go on a window. There will be no fasteners here, so we're just looking for a good seal. We're also looking for squeeze out. Aren't you glad I brought the electric gun? Yeah, I'd be here for an hour. So we're going to set it in. Let's lift it up and kind of lift it over the sealant, get it about where we want it, and drop it into the sealant. We want to get some good squeeze out on the bottom. We should see some squeeze out on our flanges. And what we're doing is we're getting that nice tight air seal all the way around. We're going to shim the door first. Now, this is another area where there's a lot of callbacks in terms of operations of doors and windows. It's because of improper shimming. Now, in this door, there's 5 fastener locations. You'll notice there's no nail holes in the front of this fin because you're not supposed to put nails there. What typically happened years ago, some of the doors, I think some of your older doors might have had nail holes in them back a million years ago. And when you're trying to adjust the doors, if you got the fins nailed in here and you're shimming things around, you may end up pulling that entire assembly out. So we're just going to fasten it from the inside. There's 5 of these fasteners per side. And we're using these U-shaped plastic shims. I know there's a lot of cedar used out on the, you guys love to use cedar for shims. And really, it's not an issue on the sides as much as it is on when you're doing a window. If you put a wooden shim on the bottom of a window and you got water coming in there, you're just going to soak it right up into the window. So this is technology. This is just an easier way to accomplish the same thing using a much easier method. Wow, you did good there. That's like dead on. Perfect. All right. So we'll check this side as well. And of course, we want to retract this hill. Yeah, he's doing good. Doing good. So he's going to get his shims in. And then we're going to do, once the door is in here solid, we're going to flip it around for the installation of the panels. So they're going to get this in. They've got it shimmed up. Can't overemphasize the use of the proper shimming. We need these doors to be completely straight. The mechanical systems that these function on are dependent on plumb, level, square, and we want these jambs to be perfectly straight, which is why you see he's using a jamb level. We have another run of sealant that we need to make, and that's for the head flashing. Typically what we used to do in the past is we'd put our flashing tape all around the door, and then we'd put our head flashing on. In this application, what we want to do is make sure that we get our head flashing. You want to put our head flashing on first, or you want to put it on second? Doesn't make a difference to me.
It doesn't matter. We can put it on now. We'll get just caulk that in.
Yeah.
Caulk that.
So let me have the gun.
Yep.
This requires a bead of sealant along the top. You're not going to be able to get the camera up there. I'm just going to tell you about it. But what we want to do.
Oh, look at these guys.
We're running a bead of sealant right along the top. And that's going to do two things. It'll bed my head flashing. We need a positive seal here because remember, water could theoretically drip down over the edge, and if there's negative air pressure in behind this wall, it could suck it back up. We're covering every single possibility here. The slightest little opening that could cause you a problem in the future, we're going to make sure that you don't have that issue. This is a split release. The 3M is a split release tape. The zip tape is not split release. It doesn't have a release on it. But what the zip tape does is they put a coating on their tape so that they can put it on a roll without the release tape. There's a disadvantage to that when you cross over tape. You don't get the same adhesion. That's why this 3M is really good. But I would suggest using that split release because you're not allowed, this stuff can't look at each other or it will just stick to itself. So that's why the split release makes it so much easier. So he's going to pull that head flap down that we installed earlier. And we want to make sure that we tape up the two diagonal corners. I prefer to use the tape that the manufacturer supplies for the house wrap. So you want to use Type-R tape with Type-R, whatever house wrap you use. And a lot of those are formulated to work specifically for them. I really like the Type-R tape because you don't need your teeth. All the edges are serrated. Now he's going to get that angle up, okay. So we're sealing all of those openings. So what were the 5 points? Who remembers the 5 points? What were the 5 critical things that if you miss one, you're likely to have a problem? Step 1, right?
Dave.
Caulk your backside. Caulk the backside of the window, the door, right up against the flange there, right? That's for those little pinhole leaks that could occur. Step number 2, caulk the perimeter of the rough opening. You can do that on the back of the flange if you want, or you can do it on the wall, as long as you get it in the right place. Step number 3, shim. Shim your windows. On the doors, of course, we're not going to shim the head or shim underneath the sill. The doors are going to be shim on both jamb sides. The windows will be different. Caulk where the exterior frame and the flashing meet, and that's going to be this all the way around here, which we haven't done yet. Flash over the flanges and the drip cap, which we've done, and of course caulking the backside of the corners on all the units. We go back to step number 1.